Well, that was a longtime Clinton defender, apologist, smear merchant, James Carville, yesterday on ABC News, giving, I guess, a reasonable explanation as to why Hillary Clinton would go around federal law and have their own email servers. I can't think of anyone better to respond to that than Louis Gohmert himself. Congressman Gohmert, thanks for being here. I'll just let you have at it.
Well, thank you, Larry. Well, that was what you might call a Washington glitch. You know, that's when you mess up and actually tell the truth. Because he was off of her talking points. Her talking points were, oh, gee, yes, this is routine. You know, my team went through, and first they messed up and said, oh, we just looked for a keyword search, and then they had to come back. No, somebody went through every one of them. But then he messes up in trying to take a shot, I guess, at me and, gee, these terrible people in Congress, and actually admits that she didn't want members of Congress seeing her emails. Well, gee, that's a little bit of a problem because under the Constitution, we have oversight over the people that we provide funds for, which included her while she was Secretary of State. I mean, and for us to say, gee, all of these hundreds of thousands of emails, there were only 300 or so. I mean, you'd have to suspend disbelief, I believe were her words. You'd have to suspend disbelief to think that that's all there was that were relevant. I mean, that is ridiculous.
And Congressman Gohmert, I mean, he was obviously trying to, you were right, he was sort of trying to make some sort of swipe at you or Republicans, but just for a moment, let me just say, because you won't say it, listen, you are a duly elected and a longtime serving member of Congress representing your district in Texas. You were in the Judge Advocate General Corps when you were in the military. You were a judge. You were a Chief Justice of an appeals court in the state of Texas. And you were vice chair of the Judiciary Committee that oversaw Homeland Security. Frankly, you're one of the people that absolutely should be looking at these emails if there's anything to be seen.
And actually, I had some success as a lawyer because I would pour through boxes and boxes of documents after a document drop where somebody, the other party didn't want you to find the gold, and I would go through document by document myself.
You know, it just occurred to me.
I'm quite familiar with doing that.
It's possible that James Carville,
having people obfuscate, but not be dishonest to this extent. This is just outrageous.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get Eric Holder to produce documents from the Holy Land Foundation trial. And as I've told him when he said, oh, well, there may be classification issues, I said, you gave them to the terrorists, to the convicted terrorists. You could surely give them to members of Congress, but the answer is no. Here's a website. You can go find some of these things. But these people all up and down the Obama administration have their own reasons for hiding the facts and hiding the truth. And then when you combine that with the Clintonian manner of hiding facts and obfuscating and blaming this, that, or the other, and I really do think that's why they threw my name in there, just to try to say, look over here, look at this shiny.
Well, it's a classic Clinton thing here, Congressman Gohmert. It's, if you're against us, that means you're on Louis Gohmert's side. And by the way, I'm fine with that, but I guess that Carville and Team Clinton, they tested it and they thought, well, those conservative Tea Party Republicans, they're not quite so popular. But maybe that's what he was doing, or maybe he was just saying, Hillary didn't want a competent attorney like Louis Gohmert looking at these things. Let me ask you.
I don't think she realizes how competent I am. In fact, I'm probably the only person in Congress, and we've got some great lawyers, but to have not only prosecuted murder, but have sentenced people to death, and probably the only, and I know there are other judges that have done that, but the only one who was court appointed to appeal a capital murder conviction that actually got the death penalty reversed.
Well,
I've done all of those things.
Knowing you the way I know you, Congressman
I know how
Gohmert.
to fight in court. I know how to dig for facts.
Exactly, and I think that this is the kind of thing that would actually motivate you and other members of Congress to really look at this thing now. So tell me, what is the next step on these emails and about Hillary Clinton as former Secretary of State? Apparently, it certainly seems to me, skirting the law and going out of her way to hide her activities. What can Congress do?
Which is exactly what Eric Holder did, which is why Congress voted to hold him in contempt. But we have got to get our speaker, our leaders, to allow us to pursue this to the maximum, go to the mattresses, in other words, and get the documentation. The fact that this administration and now Secretary Clinton specifically have done such a job of hiding evidence, it just means that we've got to redouble our efforts and not stop until we get the documentation.
Tell us what that means. Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the Benghazi Committee, has said that he doesn't have the authority to actually subpoena those servers, but that could be an act of Congress. Is that the next step?
We can and should do that, exactly, Larry. And then we need, look, Judicial Watch got a whole swath of emails that the Benghazi Committee had not been able to get yet. So it's, if we're not going to be willing to cut off the funds for the people that work in the State Department, you could actually do that. There are enough people that are non-essential. You just cut out all the non-essential folks' funding until they start complying with their constitutional duty to allow us to have oversight.
Yep.
And then you would start getting answers. But it requires our leadership not to cave and not to take a hostage of somebody that or some group that we care about that the president doesn't care near as much about.
Well, we will be watching that.
We have got to stand strong because this is a constitutional government here that's at stake as we give more and more power to this administration. It's got to stop.
And by the way, I know you well enough to know it's not just this. It's any administration. We don't want any president or any executive branch taking this kind of thing. All right.
There was some of this started. It was tough at times getting answers from the Bush administration, and we would have to push, and then eventually we would get what we were looking for. But these guys, we push, and we still don't get the answers.
No,
so we have got to show them that there are consequences, and that's why there are three branches, because they're acting like there's only one.
We got to leave it there. Representative Louis Gohmert of Texas, thanks for joining us, making news even when he's not trying. You are in James Carville's head. Stay there, Louis, please.
Thanks, Larry. Always good talking to you.